Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Aslan Speaks. Today, I want to talk about signs of a spiritual awakening. And I didn't write nothing. I began to write stuff down, and I figured my soul was just speak from the heart. Well, it's in my opinion that the world, or most people, are going through some form of awakening. And what that is, some call it a spiritual awakening. And it doesn't have to be any particular religion to make it a spiritual awakening. A spiritual awakening is more of you tapping into the divine within yourself. And one of the things that is big when you're going through a spiritual awakening is the world as you know it, the view that you see it as is changes. Everything starts changing. Like you have tower moments in your life. That's one of the things that you're going through a spiritual awakening is that things that you built up in your life, the programming or the education that you learned, you start to see everything differently. You know, old hobbies that you used to do no longer make you happy. You start seeing through the illusions of this world, or you start seeing them in a different way. That things that used to resonate with you no longer resonate with you. And one of the reasons things don't resonate with you is because you're raising your consciousness, you're raising your vibrational frequency, your energy, your body's energy. And we're going, in my opinion, through a great awakening because there's so much going on in the world today. And there's lots of things, if people are who are into research and educating themselves, they will soon learn that there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. That box in your living room that you go to a certain channel every day to inform you of what's going on, you're gonna find out that a lot of that is mistruths, and that there's a lot of invisible activities going on, and hopefully they will be brought out to the light at some point. But do your research, get educated. There's so much, guys. Now, I don't talk about a lot of stuff that I've learned because they would take down my channel. And some of that stuff's negative, and I don't want to share negativity with anybody. But do your own research. But as you go through a spiritual awakening, you have tower moments. So you have falling out with certain friends, or you may have falling out at a job because you realize, like, you may be at a job for 5-10 years and you were fine with it, and then you go through your awakening and you're like, this is not for me. My soul is not happy. A spiritual awakening can be both positive and it can be negative. You start to reflect on past relationships and you start learning the lessons from them. You start questioning, what is your purpose? Do you know what your purpose is? If you find your purpose, what makes you truly happy, then you're on the right path. And I always encourage everyone to find what makes them happy. Spiritual awakening also entails pursuing some form of spirituality. Maybe it's going to church if you're a Christian, finding God or finding Jesus, or you incorporate some type of spiritual practice, meaning you meditate, you pray, you start eating healthier. Foods that you used to like, you realize, hey, some of them could be harmful for you, so you start to drink more water, or you start eating more healthily because your consciousness is awakening. So your body or your consciousness is telling you, hey, you got to take care of this human body better. And one of the things is, if you start eating more healthier, it leads to more and more of awakening. Because in my opinion, a lot of the water, that tap water with all those heavy chemicals, or all those processed foods with those ingredients that you can't even interpret the meaning of, or say the names because they got some weird name in the ingredients. A lot of that stuff's harmful for you, and it keeps you in a lower vibrational state and is unhealthy for you. like fluoride. It calcifies your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is like your third eye, your spiritual eye. It's basically, you have three eyes, but there's an eye, like the same material that's in your eyes, your cones and everything. There's one in the middle, like your forehead, in the pineal gland area, that has cones and rods in it, and uh, creates images inside the brain. That's where you can create dreams from. That's, I'm not an expert on that. I might have got that wrong, but yeah, your third eye. You know, you start. So one of other things through a spiritual awakening is your spiritual awareness is heightened. Your spiritual awareness is heightened, and your spiritual awareness is like discernment. You discern certain situations where your soul or your spirit within you tells you, hey, this person's good for you. Hey, this person's bad for you. This environment's good for you. This environment's bad for you. And you start trusting that more and more. Your intuition is heightened. And it can be a difficult struggle, because you start like basically seeing your old self, like you lose a part of yourself, so to speak. And some people go through on and off spiritual awakenings. Like they go through the awakening and then it's too difficult, so they suppress it and go back to their old habits for a while, and then they realize their spirit or soul starts talking to them again, and they're like, hey, this is not for me. So they try to go through the awakening again, and it gets too tough, and they plug themselves back into the matrix, so to speak, or this world. This world, guys, you know, it's tough. And I don't think humanity, or how our world was supposed to be like this, where you live in a society where you have to basically use your energy or your actions to create wealth and money for you. And all you do Monday through Friday is you go to that work and you try to get money, and then you pay your bills or pay whatever you want, and then you have to do it all over again, repeating the cycle. And if you guys look at it, it's called debt slavery. We're not meant to be like this. This world's not supposed to be like this, guys. We have enough abundance in here, or enough abundance on this planet, or even in America. Well, people shouldn't have to be working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week just to survive. And that's what it is. It's, you're barely surviving. You're lucky to be able to buy that extra item every month. Or you have to save up 6 months to buy that specialty item. There's something that's flawed with that. There's enough abundance and enough wealth, but what it is certain people have manipulated the wealth for, in my opinion, hundreds and hundreds of years, and they realize they can put invisible chains and just slowly breadcrumb you crumbs, and that's making that dollar. They make 90% of the profit, and you only get 10% of that profit. And then you spend 30, 40, 50, 60 years of your life chasing after that almighty dollar. And then if you're lucky, when your body is broken down, when you got ailments, or you hurt your back all those years working, then you get to retire at 65, 70, and you're lucky you got 10, 15 years left. And then they give you just enough to survive in retirement. You can't really thrive. Ain't that something wrong with that picture? Where you work your whole life and then you got 10, 15 years left, and then you croak, but you're so beaten up, your body's so beaten up, and you work that whole time, you barely have enough to survive even at that age. I've known an 80-year-old man who worked his whole life, and he at 83 years old was still working in the factory because he couldn't afford because it's an illusion, guys. Every time you make more money, they raise the prices more, and they make some type of excuse up, and then 10 years later you start making more money, and then the prices go up, and they blame it on inflation. Who controls the strings of inflation? So that's some of the things you start to see when you're going through a spiritual awakening, is you start seeing that maybe this world is not meant to be like this. You start to question a lot of things. And then you get rid of the ego. The spiritual awakening is more of the death of the ego. Things that you thought you were, personality traits that you thought you were, that thought you made you amazing, or what described you, you no longer resonate with that. You don't want to be like that. It makes you sick that you to think about the person you used to be, or how you used to behave, or how you used to treat people. And sometimes there's people that come into your life as catalysts who send you into a spiritual awakening. I met a few in my life, and basically when they came into my life, I thought I had everything going good. I had one particular view of the world. And then they came into my life and showed me a whole nother view. You learn to not be in the ego as much. So you're not lustful, you're not angry, you're not bitter, you're not jealous, you're not in your lower nature, so to speak. You start doing things in your higher nature. And your higher nature is basically lovingness, meaning loving thoughts, loving actions. And a spiritual awakening, you start weeding out the weeds in your life, in your garden. You start looking at yourself as a garden, and you start pulling the weeds. Hey, all these things in my life have been stunting my growth. And you realize, hey, this particular friend, or these friendships, or this friend group that I'm in, has just been holding me back. And I ask you guys, if you're watching this, maybe you're going through a spiritual awakening, because you'll click on this if the title resonates with you. Is there anybody in your life that you're not growing with? That every time you're with them, you just stay repeating the same cycle and the same pattern over and over again. They don't encourage you to grow. They encourage you to do your bad habits. They try to pull you down to their state. Maybe you're happy and in a good relationship, and then they enter back into your life and pull you away from that. And they bring you back down to lack and limitation, or negativity, or bad toxic situations. So I want you all to look at yourself as a beautiful garden. And when you stop learning to take your picture and start watering all these, people, places, and things, and you start to water yourself, you start to grow and develop. And then you start weeding out your garden. What doesn't serve you no more. And it's maybe one of the hardest things in life, is to get rid of the things that no longer serve you. Especially if they're holding you back, or if they're not helping you grow and develop to be the best version of yourself. Because spiritual awakening is becoming the greatest version of yourself, tapping into your higher self, your higher awareness, your higher consciousness. High consciousness, everyone's conscious, everyone's awake. But there's degrees of awakeness. Most people, in my opinion, got the blinders on. This is their vision right here. And they have been led to believe what they've been taught in the education system and by their parents, and they've all been taught from their grandparents and their grandparents a certain way of thinking and a certain way to behave and how to live in life. And their vision is this. But when you begin to awaken, your vision becomes awakened. You start seeing so much. You see through the disguises and illusions of people. A lot of people wear masks. That's the hardest thing, is when you're spiritually awake. You know how many times I want to have a good relationship or meet somebody, a good friend or acquaintance, and then instantly I can see behind their motives. And when you begin to spiritually awake, you learn, hey, you start seeing behind people's motives, and you only allow people who genuinely come into your life to be a good friend or acquaintance or lover or family member to you. You want genuineness. You want authenticity. And when you start a spiritual awakening, You start seeing with your spiritual vision. You start hearing with your spiritual ears. So you'll start knowing what people are thinking, kind of. That happens to me, and it turns out to be right, where I know what they're thinking. And it's like, or I have dreams that come true. I have tons of dreams that come true, guys. And one of, like, so if you're watching this and you're like, what is a spiritual awakening? It's one of it is learning to weed out that garden. The things that you built up for your life no longer serve you, so they come crashing down. And that could be relationships, that could be jobs, that could be family, that could be environments that you always go to, and no longer they resonate with you. And sometimes they can cause harm, like negativity to you, depression, anxiety, or fear, or doubt. It stirs up, because it stirs up a whole bunch of stuff. And especially if a sign that you're dealing with a spiritual awakening is you're dealing with your emotional traumas, all those wounds that you have stored up within you over the years. Some could be from childhood. All those things that you didn't want to face, and you just buried them inside you, and you kept moving on. Well, they start to come to the surface. And then you start having epiphanies. Hey, this happened to me because of this. This happened because of this person, because I allowed this type of person into my life. Or this happened to me because I made a poor decision or a bad action. Or this cycle keeps repeating in my life because I continue to make bad decisions and poor choices. You start to analyze yourself. You got to look at yourself in a spiritual awakening. You could look at it as you're a computer, and all the programs, may it be through television shows that you've seen, or movies, or things that people told you, or how your parents told you how to be, or certain friends when you were younger told you you had to be. All those influences that you downloaded into you unknowingly, and you're like, oh, these are good, these character traits or whatever. You start looking at them and you're like, wow, I don't want to be like that, or that doesn't resonate with me. And then you start removing them from you, those programming. And then you start putting in, like in a spiritual awakening case, you start putting in things that work for you, that help you grow and evolve. So it may be, so before you, let's say you drank and went clubbing all the time, you're like, oh, I don't want to do that no more. You pull that programming out and you put a new program. Hey, I'm going to go for walks in the park. I'm going to go out in nature. I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to surround myself with people who do those activities. That's another key, is you start not hanging out with the same group of people. And you can still be friends with people. I'm not saying that, that you should not just cut somebody out of your life. But if they're extremely toxic, or just use and manipulate you, cut them out of your life. And just surround yourself with loving, caring people. People with good behaviors and good habits. I recommend going to church if you're a Christian. And if you go to the first church and it doesn't resonate with you, go to another one. Find some type of spiritual practice or some type of spiritual group that resonates with you, that's healthy for you. Because one of the things as a spiritual awakening, your soul, your heart starts speaking to you louder and louder and louder. Because when we were young, we were taught to suppress it. We didn't know. And then when you go through your spiritual awakening, you start tapping into the divine presence within you. And you start viewing everything from that divine presence. And then you're like guided. And for me, guys, when I trust the God or the universe, magical things happen. When I'm like fearful and doubtful, things don't happen for me. But when I'm like, you know what? Today I trust the universe. God's going to bring me the right person at the right time, relationship-wise or lover-wise. Or for every $1 that I send out, God's going to bring me back, or the universe is going to bring me back $5 more, double, triple, or quadruple what I put out there. It's all a matter of perspective. And I'm rambling now on, and I don't know if I'm jumping all over the place or not, but I'm just trying to speak from my own experience, because I went through a spiritual awakening a couple times until, and it'll keep happening to you until you finally be like, hey, this is my path, and I'm sticking to it this time. Otherwise, what'll happen? You'll keep getting steered off course. Your lower nature or your ego mind, that lust, anger, greed, gluttony, jealousy, the ego mind is the 7 deadly sins. And sometimes if you're not conscious of it, you act out of your ego. You do things out of your ego. And then they'll steer you to different paths. But if you always come from a place in your mind or your higher conscious, if you always come from a higher conscious state and let that guide your path, you always make good choices. Or that your higher self or higher conscious state is your soul. Because we all have our soul and there's, and it speaks to us. They always say, you shouldn't be doing this. And a lot of us, we ignore it. Well, then when you repeatedly go against your soul, then you start shutting down. That's how then you start like numbing your soul, and then you don't listen to it no more. You got to start listening to your soul. So when any situation comes up in your life, may it be romantic or a friendship or a job opportunity or a career path or moving, whatever big decision or little decision, how does my soul, how does my heart feel about this? Ask yourself that. Me, I'm guided by my soul 99% of the time. If it doesn't resonate with me, or if, hey, this person should no longer be in my life because this, and this, if my soul's screaming at me, I listen to it. And then usually things always turn out good for me. You look up Spiritual Awakening on the computer, and they have a whole list of things. Just lists and lists and lists of things. But to break it down, a spiritual awakening is when you start to become the best version of yourself. You start realizing how magical and beautiful of a human being you are. And you start weeding your garden, and you start growing yourself. And that's not selfish. Once you fix yourself, once you heal yourself, and you become the best version of yourself, you can go out there and help others become the best versions of themselves. That's what I'm doing, guys. You think I make YouTube videos because I wanted to? Like, because I want to be famous, or because look at me, I'm, no. I did this because my soul called me to do this. I had years of nights where I'd be up and, hey, you should make videos and share wisdom and knowledge with people. Share your life struggles with people. And for years, I ignored it. And for years, it got louder and louder. And then one day, I was like, you know what? I have to listen to this. I have to listen to my soul. And so I do this. I share insights with you guys. And if you guys want to, if you're going through a spiritual awakening and you want to learn more about spirituality or different perspectives of life, I suggest you guys read my books, Hidden Knowledge, Gained Wisdom, Hidden Knowledge, Gained Insight, and Hidden Knowledge, Path to the Divine. They're on Amazon. I'll repeat them one more time. Hidden Knowledge, Gained Wisdom, Hidden Knowledge, Path to the Divine, and Hidden Knowledge, Gained Insight. And I document my life struggles throughout those books, guys. I open up my heart and my soul to you guys in those books. And I share a lot of knowledge that I learned throughout my journey. And I'm still on a journey, because you realize when you go through a spiritual awakening, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. There's so much out there in this world, guys, that you don't know about. Or you, for so long you were on a certain path and that you thought that was what your path was, and then boom, when you go through a spiritual awakening, you realize, hey, I've been going in the wrong direction for years. And then your soul tells you, hey, no, you need to go this direction. Maybe that your soul's telling you to go to a certain person. Or, maybe you have a mentor in your life. You got to go out and reach out to them, guys. Some of the best mentors are your grandparents, or Someone you know that's in their 50s or 60s or that have lived a long life. One of my great mentors was my grandfather. He shared a lot of wisdom and knowledge because he learned a lot of life lessons. And then if you go to them and talk to them about what's going on in your life or for advice, they get share their life lessons on how to counteract your life to change and mold it to better yourselves. And yeah, so signs of a spiritual awakening, I'll list them off. So like maybe they'll resonate. And also, if this resonates with you, it resonates. If it doesn't, it's not meant for you. So you tend to you start exploring spirituality or religion, whatever that may be for you. You start praying, you start meditating. You have tower moments in your life where things that used to be you built up come crashing down because they're meant to crash down so you could build something new, something even better, something even greater. And those tower moments are sometimes are relationships. Those tower moments are falling out of sync with certain friends, maybe finding new friends. You start to do inner healing. You start working on yourself. That's a sign is you start doing the inner healing, inner reflection. You start looking at yourself. You shine a light on your soul. You start eating more healthier, doing more healthier hobbies. One of the biggest signs you're going through a spiritual awakening is you start turning away from drugs. Because you realize, hey, I know a lot of people who smoke herb. And I don't hold them judgment for them, but they're not ready to let that crutch in their life go yet. I'm not saying to give it up, but maybe cut back on it. Reflect on your life when you were the most successful, when you were doing the best, when you were mentally strong, physically strong, you were financially abundant. Look at your times in your life when you were most successful. Now there's people who smoke every day and they accomplish all those. That's fine. But if there's any substance in your life that's holding you back and you're not pursuing anything good in your life because you're sitting at home smoking all day and binge watching TV, there's an issue. But at the same time, I don't have the right to tell anyone how to live their life. If that makes you happy, that's cool. But inner reflect. Then you start listening to your soul. Your awareness begins to awaken. You start having more unexplainable events happen to you, synchronicities, signs. You may even have strange dreams or unexplainable things happen to you in meditation. There's a list of things, guys. But your soul guides you. You know what is right for you and what's not right for you. And if I could give any advice, if you're going through a spiritual awakening, it is this. Follow your inner knowing. That's what I do every day. When I'm called to make a video, I make a video. If I'm called to reach out to somebody, I reach out to them. If I'm called to walk away from somebody, I walk away from somebody. Because everything's energy. You sense the energy around you. Certain people resonate with you, and certain people don't resonate with you. You vibe your tribe. That's why you fall out with certain people, because your vibration or frequency, your consciousness is awakening, and you no longer fit in that same group with them because you're over here now. Your energy, and when you get in the same room, you can feel it. You don't have to speak the words. You just know something's off. You no longer click or connect with that friend, lover, or whatever, whoever, or even that environment, or in that situation or job anymore. It doesn't resonate. There's like your energy is bouncing back at you, and you can just feel the tension. Trust that energy. That's your soul speaking to you. Your soul doesn't use words to speak to you. It uses feelings. Oh, I like that. That's how you know your soul speaking, that feeling. And your soul it's always that when your soul speaks or your higher self speaks or your intuition speaks, it's that overpowering feeling behind that thought or emotion. When you start listening to that emotion or feeling, don't block it out, because some of that stuff's painful. It's very painful and overwhelming, certain things, but it's showing you, why is this so painful? Why is when you think of this person, it's so painful? Well, it could be like, for me, I went through a relationship breakup, and I don't try to think of her no more, because every time I do, I have really strong emotions or pain and hurt. And it's what it is. When you look at that energy, why does it hurt so bad? It's because I loved her unconditionally. But at the same time, my soul told me to walk away because we were not in synchronicity no more. You literally, when I was with her the last couple of times, literally I could feel the energy. We weren't vibing no more. And I could go on a whole list of things, but follow that feeling. Now, I'm not saying, sometimes people fall apart to fall in together too, guys. You know, throughout my channel, I talk about twin flames and soulmates and all that stuff. And am I an expert in all that? No. I've just read a lot of books, done a lot of studying, watched lots of documentaries, and I try to share everything through my own spiritual awareness or perspective. And may I get things wrong? Yes. There's a lot of things out there, guys. Get educated. That's another sign of spiritual awakening. You start researching. You start reading books. You start listening to audiobooks. You start diving deep on YouTube, finding all these spiritual channels. But always take what resonates with you and discard. If you listen to something and it's not clicking within the first 5 minutes, turn it off and find something else. Because everything's energy. When you hear my voice, some people might hear my voice for a couple of minutes and be like, his voice or his energy behind his words doesn't resonate, and they click off the channel. But some people, when they hear it, they're like, wow, this resonates, it's powerful. And that's how you know. Your soul knows you the truth. It'll always guide you to the truth, what's meant for you. So listen to that feeling, even if it's painful. Maybe you have painful memories or whatever, because it's like, hey, it's because it's something you did in your life, and it's showing you that so that you can change yourself. That's one of the biggest things, guys, because I am not the same person I was 10 years ago, and I always grow and evolve every year. I upgrade and upgrade. I get stronger and stronger, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And sometimes I get broken down. Sometimes I have those tower moments in my life where, hey, I thought I was on top of the world, and then it comes crumbling down. Why? So I can build myself new, remove any weeds in my garden, water myself so I can grow. And that's what you guys gotta do. I hope this was helpful. I can ramble on, but I don't want to ramble on. Hit likes, share, and subscribe. You know, and I'm just stumbling in the dark, guys. I'm just trying my best. And just, even if I help one person, and that's your guys' goal too. When you're called to help somebody, help them. Now, make sure they don't take advantage of you, but if they need the help, you help them. You may be able to plant that seed that one day will grow, and they'll help, and then they'll grow and evolve. You may help them by sharing this video with them. Like, just send a friend, hey, like, this video really resonated with me. Maybe it will with you, and then you send it to them. But in the end, you start seeing the world differently. You start changing yourself. And if you're really into spiritual awakening or wondering what's going on with you, start research spiritual awakening or signs of awakening. Watch videos. Read articles and blogs. Educate yourselves. 10 years ago, I started this journey, or longer than that now. And all I have is I've grown, and I started to change myself, and I started to change. And as you change, your world around you changes. And it's a beautiful process. If you accept it, you trust your inner knowing, you follow your intuition, your inner knowing, your moral compass. Your moral compass will guide you. You know when something's wrong for you. You know when a person's wrong for you. You know when you're eating something that's bad for you. You know when drinking certain things is bad for you. You know doing certain drugs is bad for you. But yet some of us through this world, it's so tough that we numb ourselves. When you begin to spiritual awake, you start not numbing yourself, because the most powerful thing is when you tap into the divine self. That is when you start able to do that, when you reach that state of consciousness, that is your drug. Like, guys, and it's way better because you're filled with love, you're filled with happiness, you're filled with that fear, doubt, depression. That all goes away because you're in your higher state. In your higher state, none of that lower vibrational energy or thoughts can reach you, because you're up here, not down here. And then think you become like the magician of your life, and things just start falling into place because you're following your intuition, your soul. If God created us and he gave us a soul, so you're linked, think about it, you're linked to God. And if you follow your intuition or your spirit or your heart, whatever determination or perspective that you look at it from, your God guides your life. Universal intelligence guides your life. Who do you want to listen to? Your ego mind, where you like your anger, hey, I'm bitter and angry, so I'm gonna just be angry, or I'm gonna choose to be sad and depressed. I'm gonna choose to be on drugs all the time, or choose these toxic behaviors all the time. And you're guided by your ego mind or your lower nature. Wouldn't you rather have, and then like that, like, yeah, you gain things and things happen to you, but everything that's mediocre life, like those things in that world, that's lower vibrational energy. Yeah, you might be successful and stuff, but you're not really truly happy. But if you begin to follow your soul, it takes you up to here. Like, it takes you to a whole nother level, guys. And it's very powerful. It's very uplifting. And then you meet other people who are in the same path, and it's even more empowering. And then you literally start deleting all those old programs that no longer serve you. You delete that old life that no longer serves you. You learn in a spiritual awakening, one of the things that happens is you're in a tug of war, so to speak, with your life. You're holding on to the past. Old lovers, friends, family, jobs, situations, whatever it may be. There's a whole list of things. And you're holding on to it. Because you like, I spent 10, 15, 20 years of my life, 30 years of my life this way, and I can't let it go. I can't let it go. I can't let it go. You're fearful and doubtful because the new path is unknown. You don't know what the new path is going to bring you. So you hold on to and cling on to the past. But when you fully embrace the awakening process, you learn to just let go of the past. There's a famous thing, a saying is like, the past is depression and the future is anxiety. And the goal is to live in the here and now, to be in the neutral observer of your life. Let go of the past and embrace the future. And then actually see where the future takes you. I had to learn to let go of many things in my journey. And yeah, I held on to it with dear life. And that always brought me more pain and hurt in my life. And then when I learned to let go of it, and just my intuition, my inner knowing, and just trusting God or the divine or the universe, whatever you want to call it, to guide my path, doorways literally in life would open up for me. New job opportunities would present themselves. New people would present themselves. New opportunities of wealth would present themselves. So what do you want to be guided by? If your soul, if God created us and God gave us a soul, then if you listen to your soul, your heart, your inner knowing, your intuition, then you're listening to basically God or spirit guide your life. And then amazing things happen. I love you all. I know I rambled, I'm a rambling chatty Cathy tonight. And believe in yourselves. Before I go, a lot of people have a lot of lack of confidence in themselves. When you begin to spiritually awaken, tap into the awakening, you begin to become confidence in yourself. And it's not out of ego or a cockiness. It's out of, hey, I know myself now. A lot of people in a spiritual, going through a spiritual awakening, they didn't really truly know themselves. And you're learning to truly get to know yourself. You learn to know things that, hey, this is not really who I am. And then you start putting things that, hey, this is how I am. But believe in yourselves, guys. I believe in you. I met so many people in my journey who did not believe in themselves. But because I see with my spiritual vision, my intuition, my inner knowing, and I could see the beauty in them. I know what a gift they are, but yet they don't see it themselves. You are a gift. Be a gift. And once you awaken your gifts or awaken yourself, you can help others. But first you have to de-weed your garden. Take out what doesn't serve you. Learn to let go of the past and embrace the future. Trust your inner knowing. God bless you guys.